Jake Spencer, appreciate you taking some time to get on camera. I know it's not always the most fun thing. Wanted to give, you represent a lot of clients in Southern Utah that have been hurt in various ways, and I want to give an opportunity for clients to be able to learn a little bit more about Jake Spencer, the man and the attorney. So I appreciate you doing this with me.
Yes, sir.
Can we start? I just want to kind of hear your story. Can you tell me about where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
So primarily grew up in Utah County in Orem.
Okay.
And kind of hit or miss back and forth for a few different cities, but mostly Orem, and that's where I graduated from high school. So.
Okay, sweet. So you grow up in Orem, pretty happy place, right? Happy Valley. You have siblings?
Yeah, so I have an older brother and a younger half-sister.
Okay.
Same mom, different dads.
Okay. Yeah. Older brother, younger half-sister. And what was childhood like? What type of stuff did you guys get into?
Mostly sports for me. Baseball primarily, but a little bit of all the sports that you play when you grow up.
Okay.
So
you were into baseball. Are you still into baseball now?
Not as much. I used to play even post high school in adult leagues and stuff like that, but
sweet.
But haven't for quite a while. I'm too old for that now. So.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I'm actually really terrible at softball, so it's a good thing for me to be done with that. But okay, cool. What would your parents say about you, as a kid? How would they describe you?
Crazy amounts of energy.
Yeah,
I was always just bouncing off the walls, jumping on the couches, just always running around, being crazy.
Okay, so I feel today I would describe you as a pretty even keel guy that's kind of got your routines that you get into and kind of are steady, not always up and down with emotions and bouncing off the wall and stuff. So how does that happen? Where did this maturing process come into play?
I think you just grow up, less energy. It's probably more the reason. It's not, it was hard to hold still as a kid, and now it's much easier. So I'm more leveled out. It used to be bouncing around and going crazy, but
I think it's got to be those endless streams of V8. So tell me about so you graduate high school in Orem and you go to college, obviously, because today you're a lawyer. So where'd you go to undergrad?
So right out of high school, I just took the summer off, then enrolled that fall at Utah Valley.
Okay.
At the time, it was Utah Valley State College.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. And you go there for how long?
So I went for a year, and I was majoring in construction management was what I wanted to do. And then after a year of college, just kind of decided to go on a mission, and so went on a mission.
Okay. Where'd you go on a mission to?
To Carlsbad, California.
Okay. Did you always want to go on a mission?
No, not really. It just kind of hit me as I got older and saw a lot of my friends going and started to think about it more and more, and just thought it was the right decision for me.
Okay. So you go to a year of school and you want to get into construction management. You go on a mission to Carlsbad. Tell me about your mission. Was that a good experience for you? Was that a bad experience for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was a great learning experience. I think did a lot to prepare me for life and kind of the future, of handling and dealing with hard things and learning how to overcome and stick to it, and until it works out. So it was really good in that regard.
Okay. So you get back from a mission and you go back to Utah Valley State College, or what happens then?
Yeah, so I went back to another year at Utah Valley State College. And then I had a friend of mine, trying to remember if I went to a year or just a semester, but I think I did a full year. And then I had a friend of mine ask me he basically recruited me to a job he was doing where we would travel around the United States doing stock market seminars.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
I did that. I stopped school and did that for about 3 years.
No way. So you were traveling the country putting on stock market investment seminars.
Yeah, and it was really more of a sales seminar.
Okay.
We didn't teach a whole lot, but it was to sell a 3-day class where you could go and learn about how to manage your 401k and
Gotcha.
and how to invest and just different strategies to invest and stuff like that.
And what was your role with that company when you were doing that for 3 years?
So I started just as like an associate that would help sell the class, and then I became a manager of the team.
Yeah.
And then, because there was a speaker, like the speaker kind of took charge. He gave the little 2-hour presentation or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was at the back table with a team that, once the meeting was over, we'd meet with people, talk to them, and see if they were interested in the class and learning more, all that kind of stuff. And so we'd sell them the class and just kind of go from we'd land in a major city, and then we would kind of hit 2 or 3 hotels in that area.
Yeah.
And have 2 or 3, sometimes 4 days of seminars, 2 a day.
Yeah.
And we would just
So you were working this sales gig. Yeah. Were you making good money doing that?
Yeah, doing really well. And I kind of, I was getting paid really well.
Yeah.
But the time came where it was just like, I was gone basically every Monday through Friday, just in a different city, living out of a suitcase. And
were you married at this time? Single?
I got married while I was doing that job. Okay. So I met my wife shortly before I started doing that travel job.
Okay.
And we were dating for the first little while and then got married during that.
Okay. So you got married, like was being like home close to Jen? I mean, is that like, why the heck did you leave a good paying gig where you're traveling around, you got this sales job? Because you obviously ended up going back to school and essentially taking on debt to learn instead of being paid to teach. I mean, essentially. So how'd that happen?
Yeah, what happened is it's kind of a funny story, but I landed in the Seattle airport.
Okay.
And my wife was pregnant at the time, and I had my calendar all cleared for like 3 weeks around the due date. And so we were all ready to go so I could be home. But I get to the hotel and literally open my door after I check in. I call my wife, and her water breaks.
No.
While I'm in Seattle. And it's like 10:30 or so at night, 10 at night. First kid. And I obviously did everything I could to get home. There were no flights, just leaving at midnight into Salt Lake at 3 a.m. Oh. So I ended up missing the birth of my first child. My wife just soloed it and did it on her own.
That is so hard. How early was she? So
she went 4 weeks early, which is the reason.
So you were a week away from taking time off and would have been there. That had to be rough.
Yeah. So once that happened and I had my first child, it was time. It just became time to get off the road. I was gone too much and just felt like I was missing out on too much. So I had to find some sort of a replacement opportunity where I could be around more. Is basically how it worked out. So
did you go back to school then for construction management? Like, was that the thought, or that thought that was gone by this point in your life? Like what?
That thought had gone for like, even when I got home from my mission, that wasn't really my plan anymore. I was just getting my generals out of the way, and then got this job with my friend, and it was paying well enough. I'm like, why bother keep going to school?
Totally, yeah.
And then I just kind of thought about all the different possibilities and opportunities that going back to school could bring, and just trying to figure out like exactly what fits me best and that kind of thing, and ended up settling on, knowing that I wanted to be an attorney. It just seemed to fit my personality and everything the best. Okay. And realized I had to finish my undergrad and then get that process started to get into law school.
Yeah. So did you get your undergrad then at UVU?
Yeah, so I went back and finished up, did 2 more years at Utah Valley, ended up majoring in philosophy because it was the one of the only majors out there that would accept all of my construction credits towards my degree. Okay. So I did that because
construction helps with philosophy, I guess.
That's right. Yeah. They accepted those credits as electives.
Sweet.
And they were one of the few that did, and I didn't want to just waste a year that I'd already paid for and gone through. So I just majored in philosophy, kind of knowing that it would be good. I know there's several people who go to law school that have majored in philosophy. It's kind of helpful because you do a ton of reading and writing and kind of critical thinking. So I just decided, let's knock that out so I can, the fastest route to law school.
So, and where'd you go to law school?
So I started at a small school that no one's heard of in San Diego called California Western School of Law. And just primarily because it was one of the few I got into at the time and just wanted to get going.
Yeah.
And then after my first year, I did well and was able to transfer to the University of Utah.
Was that a happy moment for you?
That was a good moment. It saved me a lot of money too, because California Western was a private school, and living in the San Diego area is not cheap. So the tuition and the cost was a lot. So moving back to Utah, got in-state tuition. Like we were really excited about that.
Did you have more than the one kid when you're living in San Diego?
So we had one. She was, I think, about 2.5 when I started law school. And then we had our second during my first year of law school. So right when the first semester of the first year of law school ended, our second was born.
So you've got a second one on the way, and you're paying private school tuition, living out of state in California, where cost of living super high. Have you just been saving money? Are you living on student loans? Like, is Jen working? What's that like?
It's just complete student loans, like just trying to make it work, because she's got to be home while I'm gone full-time studying. And we even moved in with the in-laws for the first year of law school.
Okay.
They moved out to the San Diego area about the same time. So
sweet.
We lived with them to make things work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So you get accepted then to the U as a transfer student for your 2L year, and get to move essentially back home to Salt Lake, right, and go to the U. And I know you're a huge Utah football fan today. Were you already a Utah football fan before that happened, or that kind of became from law school?
Kind of became from law school. I was more of a BYU fan growing up, and then once I went there, I went to the U at almost the exact same time they got invited to the Pac-12. So it was like their first season or two.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty exciting. So you were able to go get tickets to the game as a student for free.
Sweet.
And sit in the nosebleeds if you were willing to like get up at 6 a.m. and go wait in line. So I did that.
And you were willing.
Went to a game to see what it was like. And then ever since then, I've been a huge fan. The culture of it and
sweet
and everything else.
Yeah. So you're, when you come out of law school, then you graduate the U, what year?
So I graduated from the U in December of 2010. I was supposed to be the class of 2011.
Okay.
But I went through a semester of summer school and got more credit so I could graduate early.
Okay. So December 2010, that's like a year before I'm going to law school. And that was a pretty tough time to be coming out of law school looking for jobs. I know that for sure. So tell me about that experience. What did you want to do, and how did you end up finding a job?
So ironically, like I went to law school thinking like anything but litigation, anything but court.
Yeah.
And so I was all for like transactional. Like I took all real estate transactions and estate planning and all these classes.
Okay.
And as graduation came, you're exactly right. The economy was at its worst.
Yeah.
That it's been probably in 50 years. It was terrible. And so I was looking to stay in Utah, but there was nothing.
Yeah.
There were no opportunities. And if they were, it was like, we'll give you $40,000 a year, type of a thing that just wasn't going to work. And so we ended up, I ended up doing some sort of an interview program at the U where a firm from Las Vegas came to our campus and whatever. And so I met with a guy from a firm down in Las Vegas, and they made me an offer. And so I ended up taking the Nevada bar right out of law school in February of 2011. I took the Nevada bar, and we moved down there to start a job.
No way. Okay, so you move your family to Vegas, and by this point, your family of how many?
So we at this point still just the two daughters, and we just moved down to Las Vegas kind of on a whim, as it was kind of our only option at that point.
And what type of law was it that you were practicing then in Vegas?
So it was kind of funny because it was everything that I didn't think I wanted to do in law school. So it was actually insurance defense work and medical, some like kind of medical malpractice defense work where we defended like a few of the hospitals.
Okay.
In Vegas.
So you were the bad guy.
Yeah. So
what was that like, defending insurance companies from these claimants?
It was super eye-opening for me because I had no interest or experience in that, even in law school, very minimal, other than like your basic torts classes and stuff. So it was a huge learning curve and an experience. It was pretty fascinating to see kind of how it worked and how personal injury worked, and actually got me very interested in just that that side of things in that
Yeah.
area of the law. You just learned a lot about how insurance companies think, because you're kind of under their thumb when you're working for them.
Yeah.
And they kind of tell you a little bit what to do and what they expect, and they ask for a budget and how much it's going to cost and all these different things. And it was interesting to see how they evaluate and look at cases and kind of how they value them.
So give me some insight on that then. How do they see cases? Like, how do they value cases? How do they think? Like, what is the internal workings of the insurance company when somebody is injured in a car accident and makes a claim?
Well, the biggest thing is, I'd say the biggest objective that they have is to minimize the damage. I mean, that was kind of the ultimate goal on every single case. When it would come to me, when it got to me, it was already in litigation. They'd already filed a complaint, and I had to respond to that.
Okay.
And it was all about minimizing the damage and trying to undermine these people's claims. So, and that was done in many ways. Deny certain things, delay tactics, just kind of wear out the other side, and then just basically try to just poke holes in every single claim they make so that you could resolve it for as low as possible. It's kind of the goal.
So you're telling me the insurance company does not want to just pay these people what is right and fair?
Not at all. And there were times where I even would say or suggest or talk to another attorney at the office, like, why aren't we just paying this one? This is a legit claim, a fair value. Like, I don't know why we're fighting this. Yeah. And still we'd have to fight it.
What'd they say? What was the response?
They were the ones who paid us. They would basically just say, well, take a few more depositions and look further into this and, whatever, to see if we can undermine some of their claims and pay a little bit less.
Jeez.
Just to save a few shekels, basically.
Yeah. So how long did you do that?
I had a few different opportunities at a few different firms, but probably for a total of about 5 years.
Okay.
Doing the defense work.
And then you ended up moving to St. George. How'd that go down?
Yeah, so while I was in Vegas, I actually switched a few firms, and one of those was a personal injury firm. So I worked for about 2 years for a prominent personal injury attorney in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Which kind of showed me both sides of the coin pretty well. And then we didn't want to live in Vegas forever, and kind of were getting antsy to get back to Utah. And so we moved back to St. George. We didn't want to go all the way back up north where it's cold and snowy, but we wanted to be in Utah. So we moved to St. George, and I was still actually working in Las Vegas at the time that we moved to St. George.
Oh.
And I was commuting and kind of staying there a couple nights a week and things until we could figure out what to do from there.
Okay. So you're commuting, you're not working remote. You're going back and forth to a firm in Las Vegas.
A little bit of both. Like, we would commute and a little bit of work from home. So a couple of days I'd work from home, and then a couple of days I'd be in the office in Vegas.
Okay. And then you ended up finding a job at a local personal injury law firm in St. George.
Yep.
And you were there for how long?
I think it was either 2 or 3 years. It's escaping me, but a few years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then you don't have to drive back and forth to Vegas anymore.
Nope.
I'm guessing that was a welcome thing.
Yes, very welcome.
So tell me about, you've been with us now at McMullin Injury Law for how long?
So it'll be 2 years in December. So just shy of 2 years.
So tell me about, how did that come about?
Just looking for a new and different opportunity. And actually, I actually just saw a job posting for McMullin Injury Law, and I knew Nate Langston, who works here. So I just reached out to him and asked him about the firm and about the posting. And he just said, let's go to lunch. And
yeah,
I went to lunch with him and Anthony, and we talked about it, and the rest is history.
Sweet. Yeah, I remember Nate being really excited that you had reached out. Yeah, he had a lot of good things to say about you. So we were pretty excited about that. So here we are a couple of years later. You got a pretty sizable caseload. You're managing 3 paralegals. Tell me about like your day-to-day as a personal injury attorney working on the side of the injured claimants. What do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
Yeah, it's I really enjoy it. It's definitely a very fast-paced environment, fast-paced experience. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to get that day. You come in and things happen, and you get a call from an insurance adjuster you weren't expecting, or just different issues. But day to day is great. I work with the 3 paralegals. They help manage the caseload. They each kind of have a fair amount of cases that they work with on day-to-day basis. And a lot of it is just kind of managing the process from the time that they sign on as a client all the way through settlement. There's things that have to happen, things that need to be done.
So tell me about like that process. What does that mean? What are you managing people through? How does that process work?
So a lot of it is just answering a lot of questions, solving a lot of problems for the client. So sometimes they get started with a chiropractor and they don't quite know what else to do. It hasn't been helping them as much as they'd like, or they need further care somewhere else. And so we talk to them about other possibilities, other suggestions. We help them through, just snags with the insurance companies. Like sometimes it's about property damage, or getting a rental car, or getting reimbursed for something that they paid out of pocket, and just things like that they don't really know what to do or where to turn. And then as we go through that process, we're kind of dealing with the insurance company. We're ordering and gathering all of the documentation as evidence for their case. It can be a number of just about anything, but talking to the insurance companies for them, working on negotiations to try to get the best result we can for our client, on and on. But there's a number of things that we do to help.
So what type of problems, so you talked about property damage. So like, give me an example of like, what's something that could go wrong when somebody gets their car damaged in a crash and they're trying to get it either fixed or totaled or get a rental or whatever. Like what are the things that an insurance company is essentially trying to do, or that could go wrong for the person, that you can potentially help make out work better for them?
What we see a lot of is sometimes it'll be like what we think is a cut and dry case. Like our client was driving through a green light and another driver ran a red light and hit our client. And everyone would think that's pretty simple, right? The guy who ran the red light is 100% at fault.
Yeah.
But even in cases like that, they'll say, well, we think your client had 10% at fault because she wasn't paying attention to the other traffic and may have been able to somehow avoid colliding with them.
Yeah.
And what that does for the property damage is sometimes our clients don't have full coverage. Sometimes they have liability only. And so they can't just then turn to their insurance company and say, hey, go ahead and fix my vehicle, and then you deal with the other insurance company. They don't have that option. And so the at-fault insurance company, who is claiming that our client has 10% fault, they're unwilling to pay for all the repairs. They'll pay for 90% of the repairs. So our client could get their vehicle fixed and still be stuck with 10% of the bill. And then same thing with the rental car. We'll pay for 90% of your rental car, but not for the other 10%. And so we have to work through and pin down liability on the at-fault insurance company to make sure that doesn't happen, that our client's not stuck with a bill or something that we have to figure out way down the road. And so that's just one of many
So
weird
you're
things
saying
that happen.
somebody's ran a red light, but the person that you represent does not have collision coverage on their own insurance, so they can't just do the claim through their own and pay the deductible. They have to rely on the insurance on the at-fault car. And the insurance on the at-fault car is trying to say, well, it's not 100% our fault, so they're not going to pay for 100% of the repairs to the car or the rental car or any of that. How do you go about fixing that and getting them to say, okay, fine, I guess it's 100% us, and paying out what they should?
A lot of it is just sometimes you can provide additional information. There may be a witness statement in the police report that shows that our client was doing everything right, that you have to provide to the insurance company. Sometimes it can just be talking to the adjuster and saying, with all due respect, you got to be kidding me that you're putting some fault on my client. Like there's no way that the jury or anyone else would agree that my client's 10% at fault. And so you have to just discuss it and figure it out. Sometimes you can pull the body cam footage from a police officer where the other driver just straight up says, this is completely my fault.
There we go.
Things like that really help. And so it can kind of come from a lot of different directions as far as how how to solve the problem, but it's something that we do every day, and we dig to find that solution. Sometimes you even have to potentially pull like the data from someone's vehicle.
Yeah.
You do a data download to show that maybe they were alleged that they were speeding, and you have to pull the data to show no, they weren't speeding, and therefore they don't have any fault in this collision. Or there's a multitude of ways, but those are some of the ones that we see more frequently than not.
Cool. Okay. What about, is there a recent case that's maybe one of the bigger cases that you've handled recently that sticks out in your mind that you can give us an example of, like what a personal injury case is, how it works out?
Yeah, the one that comes to mind that's recent was a case that my clients were driving down the road in Nevada. They were headed back to Utah, so they were on the I-15.
Okay.
And there was some construction going on, and they were in the far left lane, and there was an exit lane, like an off-ramp only lane, and then there was another lane. So there was 2 through lanes and then 1 off-ramp lane.
Okay.
There was a diesel on the off-ramp lane that decided, oh no, I'm in the wrong lane. I need to go through. So he merged to the left into another diesel.
Jeez. Okay.
And the other diesel, to avoid the collision, merged to the left and hit our client. So sideswiped our client at freeway speeds.
Jeez.
So our client kind of ricocheted off that truck and then into the median, and kind of got jarred up pretty good.
Yeah.
And so in that case, we sent a claim to both trucking companies, basically claiming that they were both at fault. The guy that merges shouldn't be merging unsafely like that. And the guy who went to avoid the merge can't just avoid the merge if there's someone, right next to him.
Yeah.
So we made a claim against both of them. And it actually worked in our favor to have the two trucking companies, because we sent a settlement demand to each of them, claiming that they were each at fault. Yeah. But we didn't let the other one know what the demand was to the other trucking company. Yeah. And so we were able to kind of negotiate as if it was only their fault.
Right.
And they ended up paying probably a good chunk more than the case was really worth, because they both felt like they had maybe more fault than they did.
So then the insurance company and those trucking companies, their incentive is to close the claim, mitigate what they have to pay, and get out of it so that they don't get sued by this person that ends up being thrown into a concrete barrier. And you were able to negotiate separate settlements with each individual insurance company to result in one basically pot of settlement for your client.
Yep, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay. What was the injury? What happened to the client when they got thrown?
The client ended up kind of jarring around pretty good. The passenger, we represented both. The husband who was driving had a smaller case. We resolved his for a pretty fair amount, but the wife had the worst case. She ended up having to get surgery on her neck.
Oh, geez.
And so I think she had somewhere in the neighborhood of 90 to 100,000 in medical bills. Okay. And I believe we ended up settling her case for, I think, 390,000.
Jeez. Okay.
So that was a good resolution that was probably better than it would have been if it was just one diesel. Yeah. But we ended up kind of using them against each other to get a better result for her.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. And how's her neck doing now today? I mean, I imagine this was like a couple years ago, or?
Yeah, it was probably a year or two ago. She's doing certainly much better, but still has a little bit of an ongoing, just kind of ongoing things that still bother her, but much, much better than she was.
Cool. Okay. So tell me a little bit more about you just personally. Like, what about, how you're married and you've got how many kids?
So 3 kids.
And how'd you initially meet your wife?
So I met her at a swimming pool in Orem.
At a swimming pool in Orem. And were you were working your sweet sales gig at the time, or what, how'd that go down?
So it was before the sales gig. I actually had just gotten injured at I used to work for an electric supply store company that provided all sorts of electric supplies. And I got injured on the job. And so I was just completely laid up doing nothing for a little while. It almost cut my middle finger off on my right hand.
Oh, wow.
And so I was just kind of laid up, couldn't really work for a while. And so my friend just said, "Hey, you ought to come swimming with us tomorrow since you're not doing anything." So I'm all wrapped up. I can't get my right, like from my wrist down, can't get my right hand wet, but just went and hung out at the swimming pool. And sure enough, my wife was there.
And she was into the guy that's over there not swimming wearing a cast, huh?
That's right. She saw my Frankenstein stitches and couldn't get enough.
I love that. Okay. So you've got 3 kids now, and they're how old?
So 17, 14, and 10.
Cool. What type of stuff do you guys do, like as a family, are you into?
A little bit of everything. We like to travel and go places. We like to hit Disneyland once a year to get our Disneyland fix. My kids, believe it or not, they're not really into sports, so we don't do a ton of sports. So we'll do the occasional go to the park and kick the ball around or something. But mostly, a lot of traveling and just kind of family time, just hanging out, watching a show or things like that. Going for a bike ride.
What about you individually? We recently went out and had a little experience looking for the elk rut, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I definitely love the outdoors and the mountains. Kind of grew up in northern Utah where those are just right at your doorstep. So always love to go out in nature, even if I don't see animals. But I really like the elk rut because I love the bugles. I love the sounds they make, the getting up close to them. It's just like, for me, it's just kind of almost therapeutic. Like you forget about everything else.
But you're not a hunter. You're not there to kill them. You're there to experience the majesty, right?
Yeah, no hunting. I just like to see it. The majesty is the right word for it.
Yeah. Cool. What about who's like some mentors or influential people in your life that you feel like have been a big influence on becoming, the man that you are today?
I'd say probably the most would probably be my mom. My mom and dad got divorced when I was young, so my dad really wasn't a big part of my life. So my mom kind of showed me what it meant to kind of hang in there, right? She's a single mom. She's got 3 kids, and she's just doing everything she can to make ends meet. And so that was, for me, it was kind of a blessing in disguise because we were always just kind of scraping to get by. And but it was a good thing because I learned to sort of value things maybe differently than those that had it handed to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So she for sure. And then I have one of my friend's dads was kind of a mentor throughout my whole life. Like he was always there for me. He came to my wedding, would sometimes come to my sporting events, anything that was like a big deal in my life. He was there, almost kind of like a second dad, right? So he was a big influence as well.
Okay, well that's cool. Your mom, tell me about. It sounds like so you grew up, at times not having a ton financially. How would your mom talk about you today?
She'd probably be, I think she'd be like proud. She always says, I don't know how you do what you do. I don't know how you went to law school. I don't know how you, did all this. 'Cause I'm kind of a first generation college grad in my family. Yeah. And so even my dad never went to college. My mom never went to college. And so I think she would just, probably just, I don't know, be proud, I guess would be the best word.
Yeah. It's from the outside looking in, it seems like you've made good on probably a lot of the things that I would imagine your mom would want for you in your life. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Was there anything else that you'd want your clients to know about you or your practice or the way that you handle cases?
I'd say the thing that I try to do the most with every case that comes in the door is not treat it as just a case. Like I try to treat them as people. I want them to feel comfortable. We have like an introduction call with all of our clients, like a couple days after they sign on, that we try to like make them feel comfortable, let them know we're here to walk them through the process. We're here to answer questions. We're here to help. And really just try to get them to understand the process so the unknown isn't so scary. Because for a lot of them, they've never done this. They have no idea. They've never been in a crash. They don't even know how to get their car figured out. And so to me, I take a lot of pride and find a lot of satisfaction in just helping people kind of understand the process and be put at ease about the process so that they know what to do if I get a bill in the mail or what to do if, we just try to walk them through that. And that's my favorite part about being on the personal injury side, is just seeing, an average everyday person who doesn't know what to do when they have their life kind of thrown upside down a little bit, being able to like calm them down, walk them through it, help them understand that it's all going to work out. We've done this before. We'll do it again. If there's anything I'd want my clients to know about me, it's that's what I try to do, just to make sure it's a smooth process, as smooth as it can be, and that we're there to help them with whatever they need.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that, because I know your clients love that. Sometimes just to feel heard and understood, like there's somebody that actually cares about my case and that can give me that peace of mind is a pretty big deal for people, because it is new. If we didn't do this for a living, it would be new to us too, right? So I feel like I can totally relate to that feeling of just feeling a little bit lost. And I know that your clients appreciate that from you for sure. Well, very cool. Well, I appreciate, your time today and letting us get you on video and get to know you a little bit better. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, thank you.